All right, well, welcome to the live stream again for The Accidental Homeschooler. I'm Sam Sorbo, talking to all you accidental homeschoolers out there. I can't tell you how encouraged I am by the number of emails that I'm getting from people with fantastic questions. In fact, tomorrow I'm going to go into some really good questions about discipline in the home. A lot of people seem to be struggling, and rightly so, seem to be struggling with taking on the role of teacher when their authority has been undermined already by the relationship that the school has with their child. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. Today, I promised 3 stories about the coronavirus and schools, and so I want to talk about that. First of all, I apologize for going early this morning. I had to bump this up by 15 minutes because I'm doing a radio tour this morning, and they started it at 9, unbeknownst to me. I'm doing a tour to promote our new book, True Faith: Embracing Adversity to Live in God's Light. What's funny about this is, of course, the book came out Valentine's Day, and the subtitle is Embracing Adversity to Live in God's Light. That seems to be a theme in my life, I guess, because my first message about the coronavirus and the fact that all these kids were being sent home from school was, hey, let's embrace this, and let's see this as an opportunity as opposed to a tremendous hardship, which not discounting the fact that it is a hardship for a lot of people, myself included. It's a hardship, agreed, but your perspective is everything. So change your perspective, change your world. Okay, three different schools, 3 different responses. I have a friend who has children in 3 different schools. One of them is a private Catholic school, one of them's a private school, and one of them's the public school. The Catholic school immediately set about putting everything online. And in fact, the Catholic school mirrored the school of Cornerstone, which is in DC. And I was on a panel yesterday for Heritage Foundation, which you can find at heritagefoundation.org, maybe. I have the link up on my Facebook page. Anyway, they immediately went online, the Cornerstone School, and they're a private school, but they work primarily in the inner city, so it's not like they're overfunded. The Catholic school probably also is not like bulging in its bank accounts, but my point is they were prepared. And I would say, you know what? I'll reserve comment on that. So the one child who goes to the private Catholic school had instruction at her computer through whatever the software, Zoom or webcam or Google Hangout or whatever it was, had instruction from, I think, 9 to 3 every day with a break during lunch. But they had classes. Basically, they had classes. A lot of universities are doing that. They're just putting their classes online, and there are a lot of classes that are already available online. So that was the private Catholic school response. Then there was a private school response. And, those people get paid a lot of money. I don't know what tuition is, but, $20,000 a year. Like, it's a lot. And it's for young kids. Anyway, they sent a bunch of instruction home. They made packets. And they sent it home. They made packets online. So they emailed it home. Here's the work. Here's your work for the week, or here's the work for the day. And every day they would get their email to, keep the kids on track and all that. Okay. And the public school sent out, we are closed down. We will not reopen until March 31st at the earliest. Don't expect to hear from us. Do not contact your teacher. Do not reach out. Basically, sit down and shut up. That was the public school response. Now, I'm not saying that all public schools are responding that way. I'm not saying that all teachers are responding that way. I told a story during the forum yesterday that I saw from somebody sent a video that their school sent out. And the video was a bunch of, well, it was first the school principal and then a bunch of teachers who got spliced in. And they were all like, oh, we really miss you guys. we're, roasting marshmallows at the fire pit, and I'm taking my dog for a walk, and I really miss you. And I'm just looking at that as a parent and saying, where is the focus on education? Or have we conceded the point that our schools are no longer about education, that they really are social time, and that they really are just about socializing our children? And so I just look at this and I say, the number one question, I think the number two question, the first question is basically, I could never do it. I know that's, not in the form of a question, but that's the first objection. The second objection to homeschooling, in my experience, has been, well, what about socialization? What about getting those kids socialized? And let's see, answer number one, you socialize a dog, you don't socialize a human being. Nell and Jodie Foster notwithstanding. Well, that's a throwback. Number two, homeschooled children typically are much better socialized because they are confronted with dealing with people of all ages all day long. And because they are taught one-on-one, the teaching tends to focus on everything, including how to be social, how to interact with people properly. So anyway, I did this forum yesterday, and the gal who there was a gal over at Breitbart, Dr. Susan Berry, who I've interviewed with before, and she wrote an article that's up on Breitbart, and I put it on my Facebook page as well this morning, talking about the problem that we have in that basically. And I liked her title, actually. It was coronavirus is basically, how did she quoted me, and now I can't remember what I said, that the coronavirus is an opportunity for parents to rethink the education of their children. And judging from some of the comments that I'm getting this morning, some of the emails that, people take the time, they go over to my website, samsorbo.com, and take the time to email me. And I'm so impressed by that. I'm so flattered, I suppose is the word. The coronavirus is the impetus to rethink to rethink education in America. So, my focus for so long has been to try to convince parents to home educate. And so I wrote this book. But what I've said about this book, this is kind of funny. I wrote this book, and homeschoolers love me because I'm talking their language. Like, they get it. But they don't need my book. I mean, they should read my book, but they don't. If you're already homeschooling, it's not like you need this. You need this if you're feeling insecure, because this will convince you again, and my stories in here will prove to you again that you're making the right choice, okay? But homeschoolers, by and large, don't need to be convinced, right? The people who need my book, they don't want my book. And so the coronavirus has now put them in a position of needing my book and wanting my book to a certain degree. It's not just about my book. I'm just saying it sort of has flipped the tables on this. But in the meantime, I've broadened my message because there's such a reluctance in the United States to home educate, such a tremendous reluctance. And I talk about this, and she talks about it in the article on Breitbart as well. There's a reason that parents are reluctant to home educate. And that reason is because we've been taught in our schools that we can't. We've been taught that unless we have that gold star, unless we earned an A on that test, unless we jump through whatever hoops whatever school administration person, teacher, professor, whatever, we're just not qualified. And that's the number one pushback that I get is I wouldn't know how to start. And the funny thing is, how do you bake a cake? Unless you've never baked a cake before, right? If you've if you've never baked a cake before, then you don't know where to start. What do? You want to bake a cake, but you don't know where to start. Do you say, oh, well, I guess I'll send my child to school? No, of course not. It has nothing to do with baking a cake. If you don't know how to bake a cake, you pick up the phone, you call your mom. Or you pick up the phone, you call a friend who you know bakes. Or, I don't know, you look it up online. My point is, it doesn't matter if you don't know how. You go, you do the research, you figure out how. And my main point is, don't sacrifice your child on this altar of convenience and obedience because you're too lazy to pick up the darn phone or look it up on YouTube. The fact is, at this point, there are so many options for home education, and some of them are bad, but most of them are already better than what children are going to receive by and large in a classroom setting inside an institution. We drive past schools and my children go, oh, look, Mommy, the child prison. Sorry. I'm sorry. It's slightly true. All right. So in the article, she quotes me in the forum, and I encourage you to watch the forum because it's really interesting. You've got me, I'm a homeschool activist. You've got a gal who's and I guess she's an activist for unschooling, which is a whole different thing, but she doesn't really get into that. She just talks about how homeschooling is going to make it an incredible surge. Judging from my emails, which is obviously just a very small cross-section of the population, it looks like a lot of people are saying, I think I can do this. I think I can do this better than what the school's done. This is an amazing epiphany that the United States is about to have, or that is transitioning into. It's an amazing thing. It is the actual thought that I had when I decided to take on home education, feeling completely inadequate. That story is in my book. All right. I'm asking you, please send in your questions. Tomorrow I'll handle some of them that refer to disciplining our kids and how do we maintain a good learning atmosphere in our homes when we're so emotionally and personally invested in the whole procedure. If you get a chance, listen to my radio show at 10 a.m. Weekdays, not 10 a.m.s, 10 a.m. weekdays on mojo50.com. Also, I podcast it at mikeonline.com. That's Mike Gallagher's website, mikeonline.com. You can find out more about my books at samsorbo.com, including True Faith, which is over there, and I'm about to go and promote it, yay, on radio. And tomorrow we're going to talk about questions about discipline, how to keep your homeschool happy and avoid strife. And that's a big one for parents, right? So I'm excited to talk about that. Don't forget that the amount of energy that you pour into your child will not come back void. It's about the journey. And it's not, and so, yeah, it's about the journey. It's about the whole picture. So take your time, enjoy the day. I'm predicting that we will be out of this sort of self-quarantine reasonably soon. The numbers are looking that way. So I'm optimistic. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for joining me. I'm Sam Sorbo for The Accidental Homeschooler. That's you. Tune in again tomorrow. We'll be live again at 9, barring any unforeseeable radio interviews. All right. Thanks for tuning in.